This film is based on an actual incident that occurred during the Vietnam War. Imagine this, a squad of American soldiers deep in the jungles of Vietnam. But instead of fighting the enemy, they turn on an innocent girl, dragging her through the mud, through the fear, through the unthinkable. One soldier watches in horror, torn between loyalty to his brothers and doing what's right. This is not just another war story. This is about power, morality, and a choice that will haunt him forever. This is Casualties of War. The film begins on a train, years after the war. Erickson sits among strangers. His eyes fall on a young Asian girl. And in that single moment, he's no longer on that train. His mind is ripped back to Vietnam, to the nightmare he's tried so hard to forget. Erickson is part of a small squad, led by a young sergeant named Messerv. They are not seasoned veterans, just a handful of men thrown into chaos, trying to survive. Suddenly, Erickson's foot gives way. In an instant, he plunges into a camouflaged pit, one of the deadly traps laid by the Viet Cong. Death is only inches away. Messerv notices instantly. With enemies lurking all around, most men would keep moving forward. But Messerv isn't like most. He turns back, pushing through gunfire and shadows, determined to find his man. Until Messerv reaches down, pulling him back from certain doom. For Erickson, it's a moment he'll never forget. A sergeant risking everything, braving the very heart of the enemy's trap, just to bring him back alive. The next morning, the jungle seemed almost calm. The squad moved into a small village, their boots stamping with the confidence of men who believed they had it under control. To them, the village was theirs now, conquered, secured, just another checkpoint in the war. They grew careless. Too much trust in the villagers. Too much belief that the war could be paused, even for a moment. Brown, Erickson's closest friend, joked with the locals, smiling as if danger was miles away. But in Vietnam, safety was a lie. The squad never saw it coming. The sudden burst of gunfire, the deafening explosions tearing through the village. Panic swallowed their confidence in seconds. And then Brown was gone. His laughter silenced, his body crumpled in the dirt. For Messerv, it was more than the loss of a comrade. It was the shattering of innocence. Back at the base camp, the squad carried more than just fatigue. They carried rage. That night, the men were desperate for an escape, for any kind of distraction, to drown the weight of war. Like reckless young soldiers under pressure, they craved release. Women, alcohol, anything. But the gates stayed locked. The guards were strict. No one was allowed out. Trapped inside the camp, their frustration had nowhere to go. And that's when dangerous thoughts began to form. Messerv laid out a new mission. On the surface, it sounded official. Clear the path, find Viet Cong hideouts, scout the villages. But hidden beneath his words was a darker plan. He proposed taking a girl from a nearby village, not as a prisoner, not for intelligence, but simply to keep morale high during the mission. Erickson froze, he thinking his sergeant was joking. But Messerv's cold stare told a different story. This wasn't a joke. It was a decision. The squad stormed into a small hut. Inside, a young girl was clinging to her family. She screamed. Her parents begged, but nothing could stop Messerv. With cold hands, he tore her away from the arms of her loved ones. The entire village froze in silence. No one dared to resist. No one could fight back against the rifles pointed at them. The terrified girl kicked and sobbed as one of the young soldiers grabbed her tightly. For her, this was not war. This was a nightmare she could not escape. Those bastards dragged the girl far from her home, mile after mile, through thick jungles and rugged mountains. Erickson couldn't hold his silence any longer, his voice trembling with anger. "This isn't right, Sergeant. She's just a girl. Let her go." But his protest fell on deaf ears. As if compassion itself was weakness. In that moment, Erickson stood alone, the only man still clinging to humanity. The squad was just 5 men: Hatcher, Clark, Sergeant Messer, Diaz, and Erickson. A small unit handpicked for what the colonel called a light mission, clearing paths, scouting routes. But under Messer's twisted command, that mission was corrupted. What should have been routine military duty turned into something unspeakable, a crime that mocked every law of war. Erickson clenched his jaw, forcing himself to think. If there was a way, if there was even the smallest chance, he would find it. He would find a way to free her. The girl, terrified and trembling, was dragged along. His so-called brothers in arms treated her like nothing more than baggage, and yet they thought of themselves as soldiers. The squad finally reached a rundown shack, nothing more than rotting wood and broken walls. But to them, this would be their checkpoint, their temporary base. The girl was dragged inside. For her, it was the beginning of something far darker. And Erickson knew this was where the nightmare would truly begin. In that filthy shack, Sergeant Messer barked his orders. The girl was no longer a prisoner. She was their plaything. Erickson stood firm, his voice calm but unyielding. "No, I won't do it. This is wrong." Messer's grin twisted into venom. "You're a coward, a damn pussy." Tension rising like smoke, but Erickson didn't flinch. He'd rather be branded weak than stain his soul with a crime he could never wash away. Messer closed in on the terrified girl. Her muffled cries filled the shack, each sound cutting into Erickson like a blade. Every second felt like a lifetime. The shack reeked of sweat, fear, and shame. Erickson's chest heaved, not from battle, but from the war within himself. The nightmare deepened. One after another, Clark, Diaz, and Hatcher followed Messer's lead. The next morning came as if nothing had happened. Messer, calm and collected, led his men up a hill to ambush a small group of Viet Cong. His voice was steady, commanding like the respected sergeant he once was. Clark, left behind to watch the girl, grumbled under his breath, cursing the task as if she were nothing more than a burden. Hatcher and Erickson back to the shack to fetch more ammunition. Annoyed by the task, Clark finally snapped. He tossed the responsibility to Erickson. "You take care of her." For Erickson, this was no ordinary duty. It was a rare chance, a fragile opening to save the girl from her tormentors. Erickson slowly stepped closer to the frightened girl. He spoke gently, words she couldn't understand, but his tone carried something universal: kindness. From his pack, he offered food, then water. Small gestures, desperate attempts to win her trust. Her eyes, filled with terror, began to soften. For the first time, she saw not a soldier, but a human. Erickson pointed toward the jungle, urging the girl to follow him. But Messer, sharp and suspicious, wasn't blind. He ordered Clark to head back. With Clark stomping his way back, time was slipping through Erickson's fingers. He had only seconds to act, seconds to save her. But fate wasn't on Erickson's side. Just as he led the girl into the trees, Clark dragged them both, and there, waiting with cold authority, was Messer. Messer's eyes narrowed, his tone ice cold. "Do it, Erickson. Kill her." But Erickson shook his head. "I won't." Above them, the pounding thunders of helicopter blades drew closer: rescue, supplies, and witnesses. Messer knew one thing: no one could see the girl alive.
Don't do it, man!
Do it! Do it! Do it!
Erickson revealed their hiding spot. Gunfire erupted instantly, Viet Cong soldiers swarming the jungle. Amid the chaos of gunfire, Clark turned his weapon, not at the enemy, but at the girl. The girl stumbled forward, her body drenched in blood, and then, in one merciless moment, Messer ended it. She fell into the ravine. By the time the American helicopter descended, his secret was buried with her. To the outside world, nothing had happened here. But Erickson knew the truth would haunt him forever. Erickson woke up at the camp, but his mind still trapped in the jungle. He prepared to report what had happened, but Clark warning him to stay silent. When Erickson finally stood before Lieutenant Riley, he expected justice. Instead, Riley brushed it off, his words rambling, his tone dismissive, as if the horror Erickson had witnessed was nothing more than a burden best left unspoken. Erickson refused to let it die with Riley's indifference. He pushed further, bringing his case to Colonel Hall, the commander at the camp. Surely here, at the very center of authority, someone would listen. But Hall's response was even colder. The colonel silenced him, warning that such accusations could ignite an international scandal. The truth, once again, was buried, not for justice, but for politics. Silenced by his superiors, Erickson soon realized the danger wasn't over. One night, as he sat alone, a grenade came crashing into his quarters. The explosion ripped through the silence. A clear message from his own brothers in arms: stay quiet or die. Erickson knew exactly who had tried to kill him. This time, he wasn't afraid. Grabbing a shovel, Erickson confronted his commander, his voice steady and unshaken.
I told you, Jerry.
You can silence me, but I'll keep speaking the truth, and I won't stop until the world knows what you've done. Broken and almost ready to give up, Erickson found an unlikely ally, a military chaplain. Unlike his superiors, the pastor listened. He didn't dismiss Erickson's pain, didn't silence his truth. Instead, he reached out with a lifeline, connecting Erickson to the military court, where justice might finally have a chance. One by one, they stood before the military court. Clark, Hatcher, Diaz, and finally Sergeant Messerv himself. Each man faced judgment for the atrocities they committed, sentences ranging from 8 years behind bars to life in prison. Justice at last had found its way through the smoke of war. Casualties of War is not just a war movie, it's a mirror. It shows us how, in the chaos of battle, the real enemy isn't always across the field. Sometimes it's within our own ranks.